Hey guys, I'm Charlie, your Charlie Book Fanatic, and today I'm going to do the Nightwish book tag, which was created by Roya over on Unicorn Hunter Books. I will leave her original video down below for you to check out. Elven Path, your favorite high fantasy book. For this one I choose Warbreaker, which is the first book in the Warbreaker series by Sanderson. I actually had to look up on Google what high fantasy exactly meant, but it's basically a book in a different world, and that is Warbreaker, so I chose Warbreaker by Sanderson for this one, because it's basically one of the only fantasies I've read in a different world, except for Throne of Glass, but I only read the first book, so I didn't feel like I could choose that one. Warbreaker is also the first book in the series, but the other books aren't even out yet, and Sanderson isn't even writing them yet. This book is about two princesses, Ciri and Vivenna. Vivenna had to get married to the God King, who lives in the court with all of the other gods, and Vivenna had to get married to the God King because her father, her parents wanted to protect the peace. But eventually, Ciri ends up sacrificing herself to marry the God King, and Vivenna goes on this quest to rescue her sister from the terrible God King. It's my favorite high fantasy book because Sanderson has such a way with writing. I'm reading The Final Empire at the moment, and he has such a way of writing a world and capturing his reader's attention and describing the magic systems. Like, the magic system in this book was my favorite thing because it works with breath, and The Final Empire works with metal, and all of his books have different magic systems, and it's so great. Blessed Child, a book with a loss of innocence. This one I chose Tricks, which is the first book in the Tricks duology by Hopkins. I chose this book because it revolves all around prostitution and sex trafficking. There are 6 teenagers in this book, and they all have something to do with prostitution. There's also rape and violence in this book, and yeah, I think that explains itself with the loss of innocence. Slaying the Dreamer, a book where a character you love dies. It says I have to warn people for spoilers, but I'm not going to say which character exactly dies, but I'm going to say I'm going to mention the book I previously mentioned in one of my other tag videos, which is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. The book is about 2 teenagers, Violet and Finch, who meet each other and are both quite depressed and are trying to help each other. The book is my favorite book of all time, and I mention it in practically every video now, and I still recommend you read it. Dream Soul, a character who yearns for something more. For this one, I chose My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. I'm talking about Uzel in this book, which is the main character. She is depressed, and she has found a suicide buddy with whom she's going to commit suicide in a month's time. Uzel yearns for something to live for, and I read this book, and you'll have to read for yourself to find out if she finds that something more. The Poet and the Pendulum, a book with suicide. This one I chose Hold's Tale by Lacour. This book is about Caitlin and her best friend Ingrid, who commits suicide. Caitlin doesn't get why Ingrid commits suicide, but Ingrid has left a farewell message for Caitlin in her diary, and Caitlin starts to read Ingrid's diary and finds out about her descent into depression. I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, but honestly I have to say I don't remember this book because I've read it I think last year or the year before that, but I remember really loving it and feeling it was quite an accurate depiction of the grief after someone commits suicide. Sahara, a book that takes place in a desert. For this one, I chose The Kiss of Deception, which is the first book in the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. And you may ask yourself why, but near the end of the book, where something happens, I can't say what, because if you haven't read The Kiss of Deception, it is a spoiler, but the second part of the book, I thought at least, play out in a desert. I imagined it as a desert, so for me it is a desert. It doesn't matter if it's actually the woods, it is a desert, okay? Last of the Wilds, a book that takes place in the wilderness. For this one I chose The Maze Runner, which is the first book in the Maze Runner trilogy by James Dashner. I chose this one because I see the maze where they lived. I lost the name of where they actually lived. The maze surrounded the place where they lived. I didn't know if it actually had a name. And anyway, I saw, oh my god guys, oh my god, my life. Thomas and his friends lived somewhere surrounded by the maze, and I saw that actually as kind of the wilderness. Like, the maze is the wilderness where the grievers walk around, crawl around, whatever the grievers do. Our Decades in the Sun, your favorite bookish parents. You know what I'm going to say, aren't you? Because I mention this book in every single tag video I do. Like, every single video I do. Like, honestly, every video. Like, I'm talking about Dante's parents from Aristotle and Dante's Secret of the Universe. Like, yes, these parents. It's a yes from me. Yeah, I have a physical copy now. On the list, a book with people who travel the whole time. I chose for this one, The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but the characters in this book do travel the whole time, but not necessarily travel to other countries. Like, they travel at first to the Coldtown, and then eventually they travel in the Coldtown, so I see it as traveling all the time. And I really recommend reading this book. It's a standalone fantasy book, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Honestly, I love this book. I read it last year, I think. I gave it 4 or 5, I think 4 out of 5 stars, but so good, guys. So good. Storytime, a nostalgic book. This one I'm going to mention a Dutch series that hasn't been translated into English, but I have to mention it. And you're going to think I'm crazy because this is a series and not a single book. And it's not even all the books, and they're not in the right order, but yes, I was obsessed with these books. I think I read all of them except for 2, and they were so good. They were so good, but you don't, the English readers don't have any advantage because it hasn't been translated into English, but they were really good when I was younger. I don't think I would like them as much now as I did back then. They're quite short too, but I'm not going to reread them because I know I wouldn't like them as much as I did back then. Fantastic. Favorite fairy tale retelling. This one I chose Cinder, which is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I've only read Cinder and Scarlet in this series, and I didn't like Scarlet, but I really loved Cinder. And I read quite some fairy tale retellings, but I think Cinder really is my favorite because it's so unique, with Cinderella being a cyborg, and this series set in like a science fiction world. I haven't seen this done with any other fairy tale retelling before, and I thought it was so unique, and that's why it's my favorite fairy tale retelling. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but a book title that would make a good song. For this one I chose Vicious by Schwab because I think Vicious would be such a good song title, and I would definitely listen to that based on the title because so good. But I didn't like Vicious, the book. But yeah, I do like the title. So that was my Nightwish book tag, guys. Definitely check out Roya's video. And if you want to do this tag, I tag you. Yeah, and Roya, I also checked out Nightwish's music, and I actually quite liked it. I need to check out more by them. So yeah, let me know if you read any of the books I answered for these questions. Which books would you answer for these questions? Let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.